why don't we talk about Rage Against the War Machine? Should we start there? I think we should start there. And why don't we start with someone I haven't talked about ever. Styx Hexenhammer 666. This dude came into prominence during Gamergate. I was part of Gamergate, but I never listened to this guy. He gave me the creeps, the heebie-jeebies, just the vibes of him were off from the start. And boy, was I vindicated when he came out as a Nazi. So I am quite curious what he has to say about Rage Against the War Machine. And for those of you who don't know, Rage Against the War Machine. This was a rally featuring Ron Paul. Oh, okay. Speakers, fine. Jimmy Dore, Ron Paul, Tulsi Gabbard, Dennis Kucinich. There we go. Cynthia McKinney, who I don't really know that much about, but she has a creepy look. What's her deal? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was a whole heap of people, including Roger Waters, talk about a fall from grace. And then Max Blumenthal. Oh my God. And we have Jackson Hinkle, Kim Iverson. These are, this is the merger of the Red-Brown Alliance in action. And who sponsored it? Libertarian, People's Party, TNT Radio. I have no idea who they are. And we have, show more members. Come on, give it to me. Center for Political Innovation, which is Caleb Maupin's org. Antiwar.com. We've been on this website before. It's a horrible website. Like 1990s design. And I hate these websites. Peace Hawk Coffee. Bree, who I'm guessing is Bree from Bad Faith Podcast. Can you still grow without the blue paid checkmark? I do not know. I have considered paying for it for a time period at least, just to be able to grow better. But at the moment, I'm not going to do it. I'm just having fun at the moment. So we'll see. We'll see if I have to pay for it or not. But I am willing to do it for a time period. That's unfortunately true. Let's see here. Nope. Okay. This is just me raging against people. But yeah. Rage Against the War Machine. Chicken hawks go completely insane with propaganda. I do not know if he's pro or against here. He could be either.
All right, everyone, we start off today talking about the Rage Against the War Machine rally that actually was held yesterday in the United States in D.C. Fairly good attendance. I love seeing some of the propaganda claiming, well, there was only a few hundred people that showed up there. and they were all a bunch of Russian sympathizers. You do realize that people are capable of fact-checking the crowd size by looking at clips other than the very, very carefully close-in shots that are being described by the missing link media that opposes the concept of the anti-war movement. And that is what this is. Now, that means strange bedfellows. So you got Ron Paul up on stage, but you've also got former Dem...
Talk about strange bedfellows. Oh, you have Styx Hexenhammer, who's a raging Nazi, agreeing with Jimmy Dore, who claims to be a socialist. We all know he's not a socialist. We all know this, but he still claims it. And that can be a dangerous thing.
Tulsi Gabbard. You've got Dennis Kucinich there. You've got the LP's leadership like McArdle. And then you have people who represent left-wing groups too. A link in the description archived, of course, is just one of the stink pieces about this. This comes from the world socialists. The far left, the pro-war far right, the neocons, the neolibs are all completely out to lunch. There are so many different compelling reasons to oppose brinksmanship with Russia at this time. Not even just the ethical ones. The economic ones make sense. War inflation is definitely a thing when you're spending tens of billions of dollars abroad and you're printing that somewhere, I think. It can become a problem. You do have the ethical question. I would say the strategic question as well is one that needs to be addressed. Which is what good is being done. We've tried this kind of strategy before where a third-party state is in some sort of conflict and we back one side or the other. Did it work with the FSA in Syria? No. It prolonged conflict and Assad is still there. Now you've got open Iranian antagonism within the region.
I feel like he's jumping back and forth between being pro and being anti supporting Ukraine here. Like in this house, we support Ukraine in this house. That's for sure. But he feels like he's jumping back and forth. I still, 2 minutes into this video, I still don't know if he's pro or anti supporting Ukraine.
As they were called on. You also have skirmishes involving Turkey, an important NATO member, by the way, I would point out, with a massive-ass military ground capability. We've had all sorts of problems as the result of that. Look at Iraq, where we also were indirectly intervening, or Iran for that matter, prior, for an extended period of time. What ended up happening? Despite Saddam supposedly almost getting the bomb, we march in, upend things, Saddam goes, but are things stable and wealthy and people are well off in Iraq? No. What about in Libya, where we were supporting groups there, Benghazi? No, Libya has been crushed. There are parts of the country were beginning to gain almost developed status. Now it's sub-third world.
What is he saying? What's the point? Get to the point. I still have no idea. And we're almost 3 minutes into the video. He's talking about all these other conflicts and how they were bad. And I agree with him. But that doesn't mean anything, really. At the end of the day, it doesn't really mean a shit. Because I agree that those conflicts are bad or were bad.
Like most desperately impoverished you can possibly have. Look in Afghanistan. After 20 years, we decide to leave. Things collapse immediately. They're right back to square one, having left a bunch of toys and goodies for the next generation of mujahideen. We also had an influence there before we actually launched a war. It was more like the situation in Ukraine. In Vietnam, we didn't start. We also had an influence there before we actually launched a war. Left a bunch of toys and goodies for the next generation of mujahideen. We also had an influence there before we actually launched a war. It was more like the situation in Ukraine.
No, it wasn't. I don't even think it's close to similar to Ukraine. Not even close.
Vietnam. We didn't start off by invading Vietnam to nullify them commie advances. No, long before that, we had advisory forces there to train people. We were sending weapons and aid and money and so forth. And
Wasn't Vietnam a... Wasn't USA starving them? Starving who? Wasn't Vietnam a French colony? Or something? I have some... Blaze, I still have no idea what you're talking about. I understand Afghanistan. I'm just... USA starving Afghanistan at the moment? French Indochina. Which I believe is US invasion. US invaded Vietnam after French colony. Troop involvement peaked in 1996. American troop combat in Vietnam. Because I remember... Oh my god, give me the... Oh. Change the battlefield dynamic geographic character from an independence struggle to a global conflict against communism expansion. In September 1950, the US started to supply the French. Yeah. So this has zero to do with Vietnam, or Vietnam has zero to do with Vietnam or Ukraine. There's no connection here at all. Because you can... The US holding Afghanistan money. Damn. God damn, that's not... We'll look at it that after this, okay? That's a bad thing. Yeah, I don't like that.
And trying to do the diplomacy thing, somehow the Ukraine situation is worse now. As of the other day, with Kamala Harris officiating the fact that the United States deemed that Russia had committed war crimes in Ukraine, the door to diplomacy has been effectively slammed shut. At this point, I think that what they're hoping to do is to do to Russia what was done to the United States in multiple recent engagements.
Okay.
Which is that by beefing up the Ukrainians, the Russians can't win. They can hold territory. They can have air superiority to some basis, but they can't ever win because they can't ever exhaust the firepower and the manpower. Although I would note that NATO is openly admitting now, hey, we're running low on our ammo stores. We're going to need to crank out some more mortar shells and shit. Well, I guess if...
He's not entirely wrong. Like, that is kind of what the US is doing. Make it impossible for Russia to win. I just say that's a good thing, though.
If you want less unemployment, those factories getting expanded are temporarily useful. Almost there's an economic side to it. Well, all of the arms dealers that happen to donate heavily to political campaigns. Who'd have thunk that would ever happen, by the way? It's never happened before in U.S. or human history. I would like to point this out with regards to
this is... Imagine talking about the war war industrial complex or the pharmaceutical industrial complex the same way you talk, or let me rephrase that. Imagine talking about the food industrial complex the same way you talk about the pharmaceutical industrial complex or the war industrial complex. I think that's just incoherent. Oh, you're giving money to big food. Look at what they do with the piggies. Look at what they do with the chickens. Yeah, that's bad. I agree. Yeah, that's bad. But I also need to eat. I also need to sustain myself. And I can't do that without giving them money. The same way, so not everything the food industrial complex does is inherently bad. Just as not everything the war industrial complex or the pharmaceutical industrial complex does is inherently bad. It's not a monolith. Blaze, forcing peace, if you mean forcing Russia out of Ukraine, in which case I agree with you. And we should do that by supplying Ukraine with more guns, with more weapons, with more tanks, with more missiles, with more air support, or with more fighter fighters. If we should try forcing peace, you mean get them to the table and make Ukraine agree to concessions. I do not agree with that. We shouldn't force Ukraine to do anything they don't want to. This is their war, and I am happy to aid them in the best way that I can. In the best way that they see fit at the moment. As long as a single Russian soldier is treading freely on Ukraine soil, my support for Ukraine to liberate itself is near unlimited. Exactly. It's like that, the meme. Sometimes aiding someone, sometimes helping someone, comes in the form of a gun. I promise you, this guy. Shut up, creep. Let's see here. Self-defense. Kyle Rickner acting in self-defense. Time to America speak out about leftoid violence. Let's see. Guns. Oh, gun. Beesmatics decide to track gun control. So the guy is 100% against the military-industrial complex when it's about sending weapons to Ukraine. But he is okay with being able to buy a complete fucking arsenal for personal use in the US. But that's not supporting the military-industrial complex, is it?
Pretending that the rally only had 300-400 people at it. That is a lie. Pretending that everyone there is waving Russian flags. Yes, there were pro-Russian groups that amassed there because it's against the specifically the U.S. involvement with the war. The rally only had 300-400 people at it. That is a lie. Pretending that everyone there is waving Russian flags. Yes, there were pro-Russian groups that amassed there because it's against the specifically the U.S. involvement with the war in Ukraine. Most of the people there were LP members and sympathizers, some leftist groups like hippies and shit with the rainbow flags that simply refuse to cuck and do like the NPR liberals have done and say, well, this war is different. I'd also like to point out one other thing. All the time, anytime a proxy conflict like this drags on, more and more people get off the, hey, we should keep doing this thing. Economic turn, slow down, hey, maybe we shouldn't send this lethal aid, this money. The mass casualty event, terrorist incident gets spawned. It chips away at this. Like with the invasion of Iraq, the invasion of Afghanistan, the early influence over Vietnam. The list goes on and on. Anti-war movements never start off particularly popular, unless war exhaustion is already high and there's some sort of compelling reason. Most often, it's a vocal minority of people like this, or like myself, that oppose continued action.
Okay, there
in
came
part
to
or
a
in whole,
explicit
and say, maybe we should attempt
position.
diplomacy this time. I know it doesn't make as much money for your shareholders of the people in Congress, but it is the right thing to do. And then you get a wall of propaganda saying, no, 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 if you don't wholeheartedly and full-throatedly support killing a bunch of people, then that means that you like the other dude. So you like Putin, and strangely they tie up Z in here, even though some of the people complaining are leftoids. So I don't know exactly what they're smoking. It must be stronger than yesteryear's hippie weed.
So you can, I can conceive of a person being against war aid for Ukraine and not being pro-Russia. I cannot conceive of a person opposing Ukraine fighting back and not being pro-Russia. Those two are, because the latter is absolutely 100% what is being done in at this anti-war rally, which is a pro-war rally. It's like what they fail to realize, these people, is Russia is acting like the US did in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Vietnam, in Korea, in name the conflict. Except post-World War II, I should say. Name the conflict post-World War II. That is exactly... Russia is acting exactly like every other U.S. Imperialist war. And I'm against that. I'm against the U.S. imperial wars, and I'm against the Russian imperial wars. If Russia sent aid to Vietnam, which they did, I wouldn't oppose it. Or Soviet Union in that case. If that happened, if that conflict happened today, I would not oppose Russia sending Vietnam aid to fight off the imperialist US invasion. Just as I'm not opposed to the US sending aid to Ukraine to oppose the Russian imperialist invasion.
This is sellout. They're on fentanyl now, I suppose. You get the propaganda, but over time it begins to wear off in effectiveness. And more people say, well, I was never really for it to begin with. 5 years from now, a lot of the people that right now have the Ukrainian flag in their bio, they won't anymore. This is slightly different from the Iraq War, though, because in the early throes of that, when it was more popular, social media was still pretty new. There wasn't a whole lot going on then. Back in 2003, YouTube is brand new. And you've got, the dawn of social media like Facebook thereafter. You don't have the kind of...
Okay, I think we get the gist here. He is a massive cuck. And let me just go like this. I want to see... So we have some Twitter sleuths, or let's call them Twitter sleuths. Here at the Rage Against the War Machine rally in DC, Matthew Heimbach and Shandon Simpson tell me they aren't white nationalists anymore. And Simpson denies ever being member of Atomwaffen. Color me unconvinced. Yeah, and who is this? No, I do not want to. Okay. Matthew Heimbach Traditionalists Workers Party. Who is he? The Southern Poverty Law Center has commented that Heimbach is considered by many to be the face of a new generation of white nationalists. According to the counter-extremism project, Heimbach's platform is based around the idea that the white race has been disadvantaged because of globalism and multiculturalism, which he has largely blamed on a global Jewish conspiracy. That's these people. And I believe CPI. Do we get it? According to Ben Rubenstein, who chaired the executive committee of TPI, Matthew Heimbach and Shandon Simpson were invited to CPI without knowledge nor consent of the other organizers. Of the other organizers? I do not know, but he was at least present at, I believe, their after rally party or something. I don't know. CPI Rage Against War Machine. Such a long name. Took zero accountability for sexual misconduct and exploiting CPI members. In their teens is trying to have an after party on February 19th in DC after the Rage Against the War Machine protest. Kids especially should be kept away from the CPI cult. Yeah, I agree with that. Here we go. Former security for Richard Spencer, Matt Heimbach, and neo-Nazi ex-National Guard Shandon Simpson are at the real CPI USA after party and even have their own booth. The Hinkle leftists. Yeah. Yep. Neo-Nazi ex-National Guard Shandon Simpson reveals that he is talking behind the scenes with a member of the New Frontier US, the same group which was a hoster at the Caleb Maupin after party and shared a table with Charlottesville rally attendant Matt Heimbach. So that's the people we're talking about here. And I read an article. I just liked it, didn't I? I didn't bookmark it. Let's see if I can find it. I should be able. I've only been there 4 days. It's in the early section, I believe. I like pretty much everything though. Like it's. I have a problem with liking too many tweets. Oh yeah, this one. Danny Haifong, I believe. Unless you all know something I don't, there is no proof that Russia is bombing Kiev. Explosions were heard after Russia announced the military operation in Donbass upon request of the breakaway republics. This does not equal an invasion. Don't let war propaganda cloud reality. Russia didn't invade Ukraine, just as Iraq didn't have WMDs, or Syria didn't use chemical weapons on its own citizens. The US is merely waging yet another coordinated propaganda campaign to lie the world into a war. February 24th, 2022. A few hours later. Denazifying Ukraine is a good thing, actually. Oh my god, apparently they are invading them. Same day even. Strange. Oh, and just to make sure that... Oh, this is it, actually. This is it. Rage Against the War Machine rally from Amanda Moore. Continue reading. Jackson Hinkle, who spoke there, apparently has a new girlfriend. And it's none other than Anna Linikova. Now, who is Anna Linikova? Now, first of all, smoke bomb. I'll give credit where credit is due. But she is Miss Russia. What are the odds that she is a Russian operative? It's not impossible, at least. It's a non-zero statistical chance that she is a state operative as Miss Russia. Now, the funny thing is, it's not confirmed. Like, he's just visiting Miami at the same time as she is, at the exact same places, eating the same things, you know? It's just a coincidence that she has the same sleeves. And here's the funny part. But he has said it at least. But she hasn't said anything, and they're not official, I guess. But here, Hinkle told a Twitter follower he would be staying at Four Seasons Surfside depending on the dates selected. The cheapest guest room at Four Seasons Surfside currently runs at $2,000 to $4,600 a night. A night. Hinkle's first post in Miami was on January 26th, and on February 2nd, he posted on Telegram he was on a flight giving the couple a full 7 nights in Miami. Even if they selected the cheapest option available, the hotel stay will likely cost them at least $14,000. Do you think Hinkle has that kind of money? No, I don't. There's not a chance he would spend, unless he's like the biggest cuck in the world, I guess. God. Go to site. Let's see here, social. I'm gonna open image. There we go. Your account is permanently suspended. After careful review, we determined your account broke the real rules. Your account is permanently in read-only mode, which means you can't tweet, retweet, like content, when about creating a new account. If you think this was wrong, have you tried submitting an appeal? I'm guessing you have tried. But this doesn't tell anyone why you were suspended, though. Does it? Perhaps Hinkle, who brags about his hot girlfriend on Twitter and spends his time desperately seeking attention on the social media platform, hasn't tweeted a photo of himself with Linikova because he doesn't feel the need to prove that she knows he exists. Or maybe there's another reason he's kept it quiet. Of course, it's unlikely Rage Against the War Machine organizers would have cared. At no point was it disclosed to the crowd that speaker Wyatt Reed's current employer, Sputnik, is a Kremlin-funded propaganda outlet. Imagine being Miss Russia 2022, and then you get a message from FSB that you're going to have to start dating Jackson Hinkle. Oof. Oh, right. Oh my God. You might actually have been personally reviewed by Elon Musk. You can't make fun of him on Twitter anymore. It's a free speech platform as long as you toe the line. Yeah, that's probably it. H3 isn't there anymore, are they? H3. Oh, they are there. Well, there we go. But since they're back, shouldn't you be able to be back? This thumbnail is gonna be memed on for a long time. And I'm here for it. They are such goofy goobers, these guys. Okay, I shouldn't be streaming me scrolling Twitter. That's probably not a good idea. I should. It can't hurt. What is this about Biden holding on to Afghanistan assets from February 11th? Oh, right. Wait. I want to do one more thing before we move on. Rage Against the War Machine. I want to see some images of attendees. I want to see was this it? Where are okay, sure, but sure. I do not reject all, thank you. That's not from Rage Against the War Machine protest. Protest the billions of dollars the U.S. is spending on arms.
This march is massive.
It's not massive.
Ahead, 2 or 3 blocks is the front of the march. It's going back.
I mean, look how spread out everyone are. Which makes it look bigger than it is. Like we're talking a nation of, like if this had been I don't know, Lithuania, I'd call that a big rally. But we're talking about a nation of 300 million people. This is 200 billion to Ukraine with our infrastructure in crumbles. While our infrastructure crumbles. Yeah, you can do both. Those do not conflict necessarily. Wait. No NATO, no war. No NATO and Russia invades the Baltic states like that.
Oh, I saw the gray zone!
Wait. Drop acid, not nukes? Go tell that to Putin. That's... US hasn't threatened dropping nukes. Putin has. Know your enemy, left, right, black, white, unite and fight against their authoritarian, hostile takeover of the world. Like, this isn't a massive audience. It's a decent sized audience. Like, I'd be happy having this audience. But massive in the US? Like, remember the Civil War march? I don't think you can necessarily equate the two. But that stretched out here. And they're barely filling out this spot. God bless Elon. No to US proxy war. No more US tax dollars for war. BlackRock, get out of Ukraine now. Is BlackRock in Ukraine? BlackRock, Ukraine. Okay, they are. Is that from this march? Is that really from this? It might be. If so, it's a decent sized march. I'll give them that. I've read other accounts. But it's hard to tell. You see the flag of colonizers down here. You see, let's see here, what more can we see? We see a lot of American flags. We see some libertarian flags, quite a lot of libertarian flags. And you have the Soviet flags. Like, this is every type of fascist ever in existence coming together against the one just war that the US has ever helped. I don't want to say they funded the war. They funded the defense. And it's just such a weird... But yeah, I'll give them that. They were clearly hoping for more. But I'll give them. It's a decent-sized audience. But yeah, there are some Trumpists, of course. And they see this as a good thing. Like, if I'm ever at a rally and there's a bunch of Nazis around me going, yeah, to words I agree with, I'm going to take a second look at those words. I'm going to take a second look at myself. I'm going to start to question why I'm there. Is it possible? Like, oh yeah, let's say they cheer for universal health care. Sure. I can, I can't see them. I can't see them do that. But if they did, hypothetically, I'd question the speaker. I'd question them being actually Nazis, I guess. But I can't really see that happening because that would mean healthcare for black and brown people and Jews and whoever. And illegal immigrants as well. Like, I can't see Nazis doing that. But it would give me pause. That's for sure. Okay, that's enough. They had a decent-sized audience. Because they had a bunch of speakers. But apparently the rally kept going on for hours and hours and hours. and there was a lot of personal grievances, mostly, apparently.